Anything, Louise, I'm always worried because you never know what he's going to say.
Yeah, you never know. But he wanted
You
me to
never
ask
know.
you, beginning of the film,
Yes,
shoot day one, exterior Brazilian village
yes,
sequence, how Sheldon
yes,
traumatized you
yes.
for life. Hey guys, got such an amazing video and guest for you today. Mark Dacascos. So this channel is really coming up. I got to give a special shout out to Luis Esteban for helping set this up. Thank you, Luis. And also making sure I asked Mark this question about Only the Strong and the time director Sheldon Lettich may have traumatized him on the set. Speaking of which, make sure to buy Sheldon Lettich's new book, From Vietnam to Van Damme. Get all kinds of information on Only the Strong and obviously a lot more of Sheldon's movies like Lionheart, Double Impact, etc. Linked in the description below. You can pick it up from Amazon. Only the Strong, by the way, is such an important film. There's actually a recent article, 20 Reasons Why You Rock Only the Strong, put out by bulletproofaction.com. And number one of the 20 reasons, by the way, Only the Strong was Mark Dacascos' coming out party as a leading man. And from where I sit, Mark knocked it out of the park, which I agree. Mark's good looks, personality, martial arts skills, and overall athleticism all worked to his advantage and made Mark's character, Louis Stevens, someone that was easy for the audience to get behind. So on this video, we're going to focus on Mark Dacascos' journey into Capoeira and then the film Only the Strong and obviously that traumatic experience as well. So if you like this kind of content, please help support the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video. Mark, a real honor to get you on the show. I've been a fan for a long time, love the movies. And I know you're limited on time, so really just going to focus on Only the Strong. So,
Okay. Well, David, thank you for having me, though. I appreciate it.
of course, of course. So I'll share my little story, how I found out about the movie. It's kind of funny. And there's like a lot of fans out there that have their own stories, but this is mine. When I was 14 years old, I was in middle school, maybe ninth grade, and I was taking Taekwondo at the time. And I was just in love with blood sport, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that. And there was a kid at school who told me, and he knew he was a big fan of Bloodsport and all these movies too. And he said, "You know what? There's a new martial arts movie, and it's better than Bloodsport. It's the best martial arts movie in the world." I was like, "Really?"
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Oh.
And he said it was Only the Strong. So I went to the video store. The next time I went to the video store, I found it. And the first time I played it, I was just blown away. Just the opening where we see like the guys doing capoeira, and then they kind of zoom into you. You're like in your soldier outfit, and then you look to the side, and then you join those guys and just doing those aerials, those flips. Like I never seen anything in a film like that before. I was just so blown away. And the thing that I really liked about that film, and one of the reasons why I like the Jean-Claude Van Damme films a lot, is because you guys just, aside from like fighting and all the violence in martial arts, you guys just made it look so fun and so joyous. And that's really, why I like the martial arts so much. Yeah, self-defense is one thing, but really it's just, I just love it. I love training. That's why I do it, not because I want to get in a fight with somebody. But following with that, I want to ask you something that Luis Esteban, our mutual friend, wanted me to bring up. So going to the
Yes.
beginning of the film,
Oh. Anything, Louise, I'm always worried because you never know what he's going to say.
yeah, you never know. But he wanted
You
me to
never
ask
know.
you, beginning of the film,
Yes.
shoot day one, exterior Brazilian village
Yes.
sequence, how Sheldon
Yes.
traumatized you
Yes.
for life.
Okay. Okay. I will answer that question or talk about that in a moment. But first, may I address, please, that I love the fact that that the martial arts brings you joy and makes you happy and gives you a good feeling because, of course, martial arts, the martial part, you're learning how to fight and defend yourself and protect, all great things. But you also want to have protection of your spirit and your mind, happy thoughts and positivity, not just fighting, and I think martial arts gives us that, and especially capoeira. You hear the music, the practitioners are smiling, you get this flowing movement, and the legs are flying, and they're upside down, and the bodies are flying. How can you not smile? So it makes me really happy to hear that the moves brought that to you as well.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
let's see. before I get to the first day of shooting with Sheldon and Louise, can I just tell you how I started capoeira?
Oh, please.
Okay, so let's see, I'm 16 years old. I was already living in Europe with my family, and my close friend Emmanuel Betancourt and I, Emmanuel being one of my sparring partners since I was 13 years old, we came back to America because my mom was taking us on a tournament tour, and we were going to do forms and fighting and all these different tournaments in California. And we were staying at my father's black belt school, Bill Owens in Oakland, California, Sifu Bill. And Sifu Bill had just come back from Brazil, and he had learned some capoeira. And so Sifu Bill had my good friend Emmanuel and I come out into the school's training area and wanted to show us some capoeira. And, he said he wanted to spar with us, but he's going to use the capoeira style. And of course, he puts some music on and he starts the jinga. And we're just light sparring. And every time we throw a move, he's just not there. Not only is he just not there laterally or back, but he's down on the ground, rolling around the holes and all these movements. And I'd never seen anything like it before. So hearing the Brazilian, the capoeira music and watching him do the movements, I was already smiling, a lot, trying to spar with him. So that was the first introduction to actually seeing capoeira back when I was 16. Now, cut to all of these years later, I had already done the movie American Samurai. And that time in my life, I felt like I needed something different. I don't know what it was, but just something different in my life. And my good friend, Sifu Earl White, another sparring partner of mine since I was 16, another student of my mom and dad's, he said that he had this amazing capoeira teacher named Mestre Amen Santo in Santa Monica, California.
Amen, can you come on over here? This is the real thing. This is our capoeira connection right here. I'm in. Yeah.
Now, I was living in Los Angeles. Santa Monica is one of the areas in LA. And at 27, I thought, I need to investigate and explore this capoeira. I need to go see Mestre Amen. So I get the information from Earl. I drive up to the school, and at the time, the school was in this little hangar near at the Santa Monica airport. I get out of my car, and I already heard that the birimbau, and I heard clapping and music and the drums. And I walk in, and I just remember a flash of white and these feet flying all over the place. And I started smiling. Same thing, like when you saw the movie, I started smiling. And movements in it, and I asked if I could watch. He said, absolutely, and I watched. And, after they were finished, right after they were finished, I said, what do I need to do to sign up and join? And that was, I think, sometime in November. And that is how I started capoeira in November, just because of life changes and Sifu Bill Owens, Emmanuel, and then ultimately, Earl White telling me, you got to go to this class. Mestre Amen's amazing. And I talked to Mestre Amen. I started classes in November. And then happenstance, serendipity, come January, 3 or 4 months later, my manager calls me and says, hey, there's some producers that want you to come and meet with them. They're doing a movie about capoeira.
Destiny.
And so it wasn't that I got the movie and then start Destiny. Yeah, I didn't get the movie and then start capoeira classes. I started because of life, and then that serendipity, yes, came together. Is that your cat? I love that.
Oh yes.
And then
Mr. Ollie Patch, the furless feline. There he is. Say hi to Mark.
Oh, wow, beautiful cat.
Oh, thanks.
But anyway, yeah. So you're welcome. So it was life brought me, and my friends brought me to capoeira first, and then the movie came afterwards. So there's a lot of stuff in between. But going back to now the first day of filming Only the Strong. So Louise brought this up, right?
Oh, he wanted me to ask you.
So I want to say, Sheldon, I apologize again, and you scolded me, and I learned my lesson. But we were doing. I can't remember one of the first scene, and we were started talking about what we were going to do that day. And Louise, being the writer, with it was is based on his real life story, and then he and Sheldon working on the screenplay. He came up, and I'm gonna blame Louise, but Louise will blame me, so that's okay.
Sure.
So one of us had the idea of like, I think we need a word or two change, in one of the opening one of the scenes,
Mhm.
and then it was like, okay, if we do, we both like the change. If we do the change, do we tell Sheldon, or do we just do it in the scene? And I'm going to blame Luis again, but he'll blame me, so it goes back and forth.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we decided that I would just do it. I would just do it without saying anything. And of course, on take one, I do the scene the way that Louise and I wanted to change it, and finish the scene. And all I just remember is that Sheldon yelling "cut," and then he said, "Mark, I need to talk with you." And Sheldon brought me over, and in the most professional, nicest way he could, basically he said, "Don't you ever do that again without telling me first."
Wow.
And I said, "You're right, Sheldon. It's my fault. I apologize. I'm so sorry. It will never happen again." And it did not happen again. So I took a spanking for both of us, Louise.
Wow, that's funny. Another thing, Mark, that
Yeah.
was really impressive.
So lesson learned,
Yeah, lesson learned. Yeah, with the writer director, even though you were working with the co-writer Louise, but with the writer director, don't change the
Yes.
script. Basically, lesson for any actors out there. But
No, not without making sure it's okay. So ultimately, it actually, in the end, it was my fault, because whether it was Louise's idea or not, I obviously agreed with it, and I'm the one that has to do the dialogue. So ultimately, it was my call. So I take that back. It's 100% my fault. It is. I mean, I said it, right? Louise is not saying it. He's the writer. So my bad.
let me
So
ask you
Louise,
this.
I apologize. And Sheldon, I apologize again.
Let me ask you this, Mark. So that opening sequence, like I had mentioned earlier, was so amazing. A great way to open the movie. And you guys weren't out there that long. Like, how long did it take to shoot that scene?
As far as I remember, we shot it in just a few hours. This is the thing. This is the great thing. So David, when we shot that, I had done less than a year of capoeira. Once I got the movie, Mr. Amen would train me with privates and in group classes, but I was still very much a beginner. But Mr. Amen, of course, is an expert, a master, and the people that we had that he brought in to be the other capoeiristas, they were all very experienced, way more advanced than me. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and I was just kind of jumping in as my character was a soldier, and he obviously learned capoeira while he was on tour down in Brazil. So it made sense that he's trying to figure everything out and learn the best he could, and we tried to show the best we could in the minimal amount of time that I was very much. Javier, his name was, Mr. Amen's name in the movie was Javier, that I was Javier's student. He was definitely my teacher, and obviously way better. So, we shot that scene in a few hours. We did not choreograph that. That was off free flow.
Wow.
So we just went for it. Like I said, Mr. Amen and the other capoeiristas, they knew exactly what they were doing. I was just trying to, manage my way and not get killed.
Yeah, sure. Nobody could ever tell watching the film, though. I mean, you look like such an expert. But as far as a character having a mission out there in Brazil and then learning while he's there, they did capture that because that sequence, like you could tell the Maestro Amen is obviously the superior, just the way it was shot and how expertly he moved. But again, you moved so great, and even though you said you were doing capoeira for like a year. The lifetime of martial arts plus the gymnastics background, like nobody could expect to do that in a year if they started capoeira, but you had the gymnastics background in a lifetime of martial arts. So it seemed like you were able to adapt to that very quickly.
Well, thank you. Well, the other thing is too, it made sense for the character. I mean, if he was a special forces soldier, obviously he was in physical shape, and who knows in terms of his character what kind of background he had. Maybe he had boxing, maybe he had other martial arts. So it kind of made sense that he knew how to fight, but that capoeira was still something rather new for him, as it was for me.
Mhm.
Well, I just love that, Mr. Amen was my teacher in real life, and Sheldon and Louise and our producers were open to and supportive of him playing my teacher in the movie. It made sense. I mean, it really all fell together.
Yeah, he had a good screen presence and a good look, so that definitely helped too. you know. Let me ask you this, Mark. So going back to the
Yeah.
special forces
Sure.
character, he's in good shape. Now I know Sheldon, kind of said, "Hey, this is the '90s. These action guys are kind of like a little more muscular. Let's start lifting weights, getting some muscle." So I really want to talk about, because I feel like you had such an amazing body. So not only did your martial arts inspire me when I was like in middle school, going into high school, but your physique did as well. So let's talk about that. Like,
Oh,
how
thank
much
you.
did you
Thank you.
weigh prior to how much did you weigh prior to Only the Strong, and how much did you end up weighing in the movie? In part two of the interview, we're going to talk about how Mark Dacascos, in my opinion, built his best body ever. Talk about the weightlifting, the diet, and more.